Price futures canola market is weaker Friday morning, seeing some follow-through selling after yesterday's downturn. Canola down 3 to over $5, May down 5.20 at $567.50 per ton. A soft tone in the Chicago soy complex contributed to the weakness, with Malaysian palm oil also lower overnight. However, European rapeseed is stronger on the day. Tariff uncertainty continues to overhang the canola market as Chinese tariffs on Canadian canola oil and meal came into effect yesterday, and broad U.S. tariffs are set to come into place at the beginning of April. Canola does remain attractively priced, though, compared to other global oilseeds, and that is keeping some end-user buying interest underneath the market. Canola exported just under 200,000 tons of canola during the latest weekly reporting period. That brought the crop year-to-date total to 6.5 million tons. That compares with only 3.7 million by this time last year. In the U.S., soybean and corn futures are lower while wheat is mixed. Soybeans remain pressured by the advancing Brazilian harvest and lack of any major weather concerns out of Argentina for the time being. The May soybean contract down 7 cents at $10.06 per bushel. The USDA will release its planting intentions report at the end of March, and pre-report positioning is accounting for some activity. Early expectations are for a cut to U.S. soybean acres from last year and an increase in corn. Quarterly stocks data will also be released at that time. Corn, it is trading to both sides of unchanged, but lower in most months now, seeing a correction to end the week after moving higher yesterday. The May contract down 6 cents at $4.63 per bushel. Wheat, meanwhile, correcting the other way after declining yesterday. Minneapolis spring wheat up a penny in the May contract at $6.05 per bushel. Kansas City up 3 cents in the May contract at $5.89 per bushel. Chicago soft wheat, though, backing away from earlier advances, down 1 cent now in the May contract at $5.56 per bushel. Ongoing weather uncertainty across the U.S. plains did remain somewhat supportive. Yesterday, the International Grain Council upped their call for global wheat production this year by 2 million tons, now at 799 million tons. Meanwhile, the upcoming wheat crop is expected to be 8 million tons above that at 807 million tons. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday, March 21st. In Winnipeg, for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Phil Franz Workington.
For over 35 years, they've been your go-to for quality farm and snow removal equipment, and they should also be your go-to for parts. At Butler Farm Equipment, their parts department is stocked with batteries, oil, pins, bushings, antifreeze, bearings, belts, pulleys, sprockets, roller chain, hoses, fittings, hydraulic cylinders, and more. Plus, specific OEM parts from New Holland, Schulte, Toro, and Gravely. Butler Farm Equipment, over 35 years of great service in the Peace region. Visit butlerfarmequipment.ca.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Welcome to This Week in the Peace. Later in the show, I'll be speaking with the president of the Fort St. John's Firefighters Charitable Society about a major fundraising event they're organizing in a few weeks.
Yes, but first, March is Fraud Prevention Month, and it seems like we're hearing organizations warning us every other day about some new scam where people are trying to lure you into giving away your vital information or to give the money or whatever it happens to be. So to talk a bit about these scams and how you can hopefully keep from falling for them, we're joined now by Jeff Horncastle with the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Jeff, welcome to This Week in the Peace.
Hey, happy to be here.
Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat with us. You coming to us from North Bay, Ontario, by the way. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, tell us a bit about what it is you do and sort of how things work there in brief, if you can.
Yeah, a great way to start the interview is so important to understand what we do to begin with, right? So we're primarily led by the RCMP, partnership between the RCMP, Ontario Provincial Police, and the Competition Bureau of Canada. We're the central repository for mass marketing fraud in Canada. So basically, our mandate includes, Canadians report fraud to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. We take that information, share it for awareness, education to protect them. What you could be reporting could be something new that we have to alert Canadians on. And on top of that, more importantly, we take that information and we're able to link information across Canada together and share that with investigators, not only in Canada, but internationally as well. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. Although we don't investigate directly, we support investigations in Canada.
Yeah, so it's kind of about sharing and awareness, I suppose, for people. Especially, I guess, when you see something that's happening a lot, often we'll kind of get information from you or even through our local RCMP detachment about something that seems to be occurring a lot and getting a lot of people, eh?
Well, it's, you know what, I mean, it is about awareness, and that's what Fraud Prevention Month is about. But it's about more than that, too. It's about linking information, because fraud is done on such a large scale, right? Mm-hmm. So, I always give the example of, if there's a victim in BC, another one in Halifax, another one in Montreal, we have the ability to link information together, package it up, and share it with investigators to support investigations. Otherwise, local police may have a little bit more of a challenge linking that information together. We have the ability to support investigations. So, but a big part of what we do is awareness and education, because we all know that it's one of the most effective tools to fight fraud in Canada is spreading that awareness messaging, for sure.
I mean, fraud is as old as, basically human civilization. Somebody's always been trying to scam somebody at some point. How long has the kind of anti-fraud center been around? Has it kind of been since the age of the internet, when it seems like scams can have become really widespread and really kind of easy to, enter all sectors of society?
That's a great question. It's been around for a number of years, actually, and there is quite a history to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. It started off actually as phone busters back in the early 90s, and it was started by the Ontario Provincial Police. But as fraud started to evolve, the cyber environment got huge, right? Everybody was on the internet. Then that's when the RCMP came in and kind of took over as a lead. The Ontario Provincial Police is still included as a partner, but and that happened back in the early 2000s. So it's been around. The Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre has been around for quite some time.
Mm-hmm. And even kind of really precedes the internet being really big, I suppose. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's talk about these scams. As I mentioned, it feels like lately there's been lots of them. There's likely going to be a federal election called on Sunday, so we may see some more pop up, as those seem to always happen when there's elections going on. What kind of things are we seeing a lot lately, even nationally, I suppose, that seem to be trapping people in them, I suppose, is the best way. Seem to be working on people that people have fallen for, that are really malicious. What kind of things are we seeing?
You know what? I could probably sit here all day and go through about over 30 types of fraud that we document at the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Just to give you a quick picture, 638 million was reported lost in 2024. Wow. And that's estimating that only 5 to 10% of victims report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. So it's a multi-billion-dollar business. With that being said, I think we can all agree that we probably, on a daily basis, get a phishing message, either text message or email. And anyone, we may think that they're easy to spot, but, different factors come into play. For example, you didn't get a good sleep the night before or something, you might not think as clearly, right? Just an example, you might click on a link and then realize right after clicking that you've done something that you shouldn't have done. But based on dollar loss in 2024, investment fraud was the most impactful, with roughly 311 million lost in 2024, followed by spear phishing, romance scams, and job scams. Are at the top of the list. So, like I mentioned, there's about over 30 types of fraud that we document. But the most important thing that we always tell Canadians is that, there's always a sense of urgency with any type of fraud. Fraudsters want you to react very quickly. And reason being is because they don't want to give you time to discuss anything with family members or loved ones, right? So always take the time you need, whether you see an ad pop up on social media, you're getting a message, a phone call, whatever the case may be, take as much time as you need.
Mm-hmm. Spear phishing, I have to admit, I don't think I've heard that term before. Can you kind of give us an idea of what that is?
Yeah, so it's kind of exactly what the term is, spear phishing. So a targeted attack, generally on businesses. So it might be, you're working at a company and you get a request for an accounts payable invoice to be sent to an alternate bank account. This is a case where maybe one of your suppliers' networks was infiltrated, and the fraudsters are asking you to send a large payment to an alternate bank account by wire transfer. Another variation might be an email claiming to be from an employee sent to payroll saying, "Hey, I changed my direct deposit information. Can you deposit my paycheck into this bank account instead of my old one?" And payroll changes the bank account information, and unfortunately, the employee doesn't get their paycheck that week. So those are a couple of variations. There are a few different variations, but those are the most impactful variations we're seeing right now.
Okay, and I don't know if this is a myth or not, but I wonder if you could dispel it if it is. I think there's an idea in our head when we think about fraud about, the people who might more easily be sort of susceptible to it, right? You think of maybe people my parents' age, for example, who didn't grow up with the internet and might be, again, more susceptible to kind of internet scams going on. Is that something you could verify and say, yeah, that does typically happen more, or are there frauds perpetrated that target anyone and everyone, and kind of everyone could possibly be the victim of a fraud or a scam?
So I'm going to say yes to both those scenarios. There are frauds that typically target our senior. So, I think we think of the grandparent scam right away, right? Although It's not only targeting grandparents, it can target aunts and uncles, parents, or that type of fraud typically targets the senior demographic. Same as the bank investigator fraud, where they might be calling landlines, right, and claiming there's a couple of fraudulent transactions in your bank account. So those are frauds that generally impact seniors quite a bit. As for all the other types of fraud, what we're seeing, everybody is at risk. So it's not like it was like. It still is important to have those conversations with their vulnerable family members or friends, right, especially during Fraud Prevention Month. But we think of anybody that's new to the country where, we see the CRA phishing text messages. Well, they may not know that the government doesn't offer refunds by text message. So it's important to have these conversations with everyone, and not necessarily sitting them down and lecturing them, but just having a conversation and bringing it up. And even one piece of advice can go a long way.
Mm-hmm. I kind of mentioned an election coming up, a possible election. We don't know for sure, of course, but, everyone has elections. Is that, again, scams that seem to have to do with election and information and whatnot, is that something you kind of prepare for when, you hear the news this week that it's likely the prime minister is going to ask to have an election called, and you kind of gear up for something like that? Or is this kind of stuff just kind of ongoing all the time?
It's just kind of ongoing, and honestly, with that being said, fraudsters do try to capitalize on big events in our country. We've seen it with natural disasters, or offered by the federal, provincial government. So, something to definitely keep an eye on. Nothing should change for the way that you go from fraud, whether you're getting a phone call or a text message or whatever. Don't click on links without verifying, and you'll save yourself from being a victim.
Mm-hmm. Well, that leads directly into kind of my next side of this. Of course, it is Fraud Prevention Month, and you're the first person who can help prevent fraud in not falling for it. So I suppose if we can quickly, when you kind of talk about education in terms of, preventing fraud from happening to you and to people, What are kind of the best practices? You already said, if it seems suspicious, it probably is, in terms of text messages, emails, internet links, and sitting down with people in your family who you might think of as more vulnerable to these sorts of things. What other kind of tips and tricks do you have in terms of just being more aware of frauds around you and not falling for them?
You know what? It's just a matter of being aware that anywhere we go, unfortunately now, to communicate, whether it's on our cell phones, on social media, Facebook, or any other social media platform, there's a good chance you're going to see some kind of fraud. Whether you're selling an item, there's a good chance the fraudster may target you and say, "Hey, I want to buy that item. I'm going to send you a payment by check." Know that variation exists, right? So generally speaking, it's just a matter of knowing that, being careful, taking a step back. We always say take 5, tell 2. So take 5 minutes, take 5 days if you have to, right? If you're looking into investing into cryptocurrency, then it gets a little more sophisticated. And just take as much time as you need. And Fraud Prevention Month is the best time to spread a bit of messaging. I think there's generally a lot of stigma around being a victim of fraud. So, you and I may be a victim. We may not discuss it, right? Because we're ashamed. We want to get around that and encourage reporting as much as we can. If you have been a victim, it's very important with your local police, and you can report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre as well. And like I said, it's, fighting fraud is a collective fight. It's not the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre that can do it alone. We need everybody to pitch in and make a difference.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, you wrapped that up perfectly. That's exactly where I was going. So thank you very much for taking a few minutes to chat with us this morning about this. I appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Again, that's Jeff Horncastle with the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. We'll be right back to talk more with, Steve's conversation with Brent Morgan with the Fort St. John Firefighters Charitable Society right after this on This Week of the Peace.
Make the best decisions for your life with the help from Janot Notaries. Strengthening the Fort St. John community, the team at Janot Notaries are here to guide you through the process of real estate transfers, wills and estate planning, and of course, notarizations. They have been serving the community for the past 7 years and invite you to come and see them at their new location on 101st Avenue in the Janot building across from the old hospital with plenty of parking. Learn more at fsjnotary.com.
I think my vision is deteriorating. I need an eye exam.
Go to Merwin's.
But they don't offer eye exams.
Yeah, they do now.
Merwin Optical now offers optometrist eye exams. Not only can you call or book online, but Merwin Optical takes walk-in appointments as well. For more details or to book, call 250-787-0232 or visit merwinoptical.com. Merwin Optical, serving you since 1987.
There is always something going on in the energetic city, and staff from the City of Fort St. John Recreation Department have planned a variety of exciting programs and events. Here's what's coming up.
There's only one thing better than a swim, and that's a free swim. Tourmaline sponsors free swim Sundays at the North Peace Leisure Pool all year long. Grab your suit and dive in this Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m.
For more information, visit the City of Fort St. John Recreation page on Facebook and the city's website at fortstjohn.ca.
For mouth-watering, gourmet-inspired, artisan-style pizza, there's only one obvious choice: Olio's Pizzeria and Eatery. Enjoy one of their signature pizzas, including pulled pork, Philly cheesesteak, nacho, chicken club, Mr. Mac, barbecue chicken, and more. Olio's also has amazing pastas, wings, wraps, and salads. Olio's Pizzeria and Eatery, Pizza of the North. Pick up, skip the dishes, DoorDash, or order online at oliospizzaandeatery.com.
Meeny, miny, mo. What you gonna order from? Olio's!
Mark your calendars. This upcoming Work BC Fort St. John Job Fair is happening on May 1st at the Pomeroy Hotel and Conference Centre. Don't miss this chance to connect with skilled professionals from the local community who are eager to meet their potential employers. Whether you're looking to fill positions or expand your professional network, this event is tailored for you. To secure your spot as an exhibitor, visit fsjjobfair.ca or call us at 250-787-7100. Join us and make the most of this unique opportunity.
Moose Country weather. Today you can expect a high of 7 degrees. Chance of some flurries on and off today. Later tonight, a -2, but it's going to feel like -9 with that wind chill. Tomorrow, sun's going to come out again, but chance of flurries or some rain showers tomorrow night, -3. And then on Sunday, you can expect a mix of sunshine and clouds, high of 8.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Steve. The Fort St. John Firefighters Charitable Society is a few weeks away from hosting its annual charity ball, raising money to support causes like medical travel expenses for people who need to leave the Peace region for treatment. To tell us all about this year's ball and how it stacks up to the record-breaking event held last year, I sat down this week with the Charitable Society's president, Brent Morgan. First of all, Brent, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. Always more than happy to have you. So, to begin with, for people who maybe aren't familiar with it, people maybe new to the community, can you give me a quick rundown of what the Fort St. John Firefighters Charitable Society is and what you guys do?
Yeah, so it's the Charitable Society is just an organization charity that we started, and it's to raise money and give back to the people of the community that are in need of support in, through different programs that we provide.
Okay, for sure. So this year you guys are having your annual charity ball. Give me the quick hard details rundown. When is it happening? Where is it happening?
So it's going to happen May 3rd this year. We've kind of always going for the weekend before Mother's Day in May, so people can start looking ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
Come this year and that's when we like to have it every year. It's going to be at the Pomeroy Hotel. Doors open at 5 o'clock. Dinner we try for, 7 o'clock, and then we start the fundraising kind of as soon as we open up the doors, and try and have all the fundraising done between that 9:30ish, ending with the live auction, and then it's a dance with live music from Mountain Coolies.
Okay, awesome. In terms of fundraising, can you walk me through sort of some of the programs that money goes towards and what the goal is for this year?
Yeah, so one of our programs is the Medical Travel Fund, where we have an online application for anybody that's looking to go elsewhere for medical issues that they have come up with. That if they're short on funds in that, we will provide accommodations, cab rides from the, airport to the medical appointment back, per diems for food, and travel, whether it's fuel or it's airfare.
Is that specifically for people who were injured as a result of complications from a fire, or?
No, it's for any reason.
Okay, awesome.
Any medical reason that people have to travel outside of Fort St. John to get the treatment that they require. And, maybe they've fallen on hard times or, life and all the rest of that. It's they just didn't budget for this, and it put them into some hardship.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It sounds like a great program. One of the other ones that I was reading about that I know some of the money from last year's event went towards was the Burn Fund. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the Burn Fund, it helps anybody in BC and the Yukon that have been burnt. And it's not only just for burn survivors too, it is for trauma patients and that with scars. We have accommodation suites down in Vancouver, and it's pretty central between Children's and VGH. And if people are traveling outside of 150 kilometers and that, they can stay at the building. So that's just one of those things that help take just extra expense they don't have to burden during this time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then there's different programs through the Burn Fund. One of the ones I attend is the Burn Camp, and it's for kids anywhere between the ages of 6 to 18 that have met the criteria, and it's a free camp for them as long as they can get to the airport or a certain meetup point, depends on where they live, and then it's a week of fun, all expenses paid for, and these kids, this can be my 12th year going, and it's life-changing, not only for the kids, but also for me. It's pretty remarkable to see what these young kids have gone through and how they've adapted to life and thrived through life.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So I want to take a quick step back and talk about last year's fundraising gala. You guys raised, if I remember correctly, it was more than $150,000.
Yeah, I believe it off the top of my head, it was about the $164,000 we raised after all expenses were paid, which was a new record for us.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. What does the goal look like for this year? What are you hoping for?
Well, you always want to set goals and always, break those goals and stuff like that and beat last year and stuff like that. So, but you know what? It's one of those things we're relying on the generosity of the community, which I can't speak enough of what this community has done and supported. And not just so much our charity and stuff like that, but all the charities within the community. So yeah, we would like to break last year's goal. Absolutely. We always strive to be better and just don't want to settle for mediocre. We always want to do better because the more money that we raise, we're a nonprofit organization, the more money that goes back to the community.
Absolutely. Yeah. For people who are interested in going, maybe they're interested in contributing, walk me through, are there like ticket prices, things like that? What are the opportunities that people have in order to contribute money here? Yeah,
so tickets will be going on sale April 1st online. It will be online at midnight. It's not an April Fool's joke. It's just kind of the month out before. Last year we realized that when we set it up, it was midnight Eastern. So some people were getting tickets sooner than what we had thought.
Right.
And we suggest people to set an alarm for that time and go online, get the tickets as soon as they're available, because by morning we will be sold out.
Awesome.
Yeah. Ticket prices, due to the rise in costs and food and stuff like that, we have had to up the price of tickets to $125. If somebody wants to come and just get one ticket, two tickets, or that's no issues. Or if you want to fill a table of 8, that's up to you. Just let us know what you want and we will accommodate you. And right now we have people that are going out handing out letters to community or to the businesses. And we're looking through donations, whether people want to give a cash donation or have a prize or something like that. We welcome everything that's available. The one thing I do want to stress is we do not solicit funds over the phone.
Okay.
So if it is somebody, or we've had people in the past that a day or two after tickets have gone on sale have gone onto Facebook and said, "Oh, I can't go to this event. Anybody want to buy my tickets?" We recommend you do not buy online from them. Mm-hmm. Reach out to us and we will take care of that stuff for you. But do not answer the phone unless you personally know the person. Do not take any give donations over the phone. And don't buy tickets online unless it's through us.
100%. Especially a good message to spread right now because March is Fraud Prevention Month. For people who are interested in contributing in some other way, maybe you mentioned prizes. Is there a way to contribute those? Is there going to be any sort of like silent auction or anything like that?
Yeah, we have a bunch of different raffles. The bucket draw. We do have 50-50. We do have 50-50, the gold bar. Silent auction, live auction, and yeah, we'll take anything because you never know what somebody might give us and somebody might really want and find neat and could go for quite a bit of money.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. There are going to be some people who listen to this and they want to help, but maybe they don't have the money in order to contribute financially. They can't afford to go to the gala. They can't afford to make a donation. Do you guys have volunteer opportunities or anything like that people would be able to help out?
We've through the guys at the fire hall and the wives and stuff like that, but we're always willing to, if someone is willing to help out with some way, they can definitely reach out. They can email me, and that's at fsjfcs@gmail.com.
Okay, for sure. Last question as well. For people who have money, they want to contribute, they think this is a great idea, maybe they can't attend the gala that day. Mm-hmm. Are there other opportunities and other ways to donate?
Absolutely. And we're open to anything. We will, same thing, just email me, or we do have our Facebook page if you want to message on Facebook and that, and then chances are they'll pass that information off to myself, and then we will get a hold of them and see what we can work out from there.
Okay, for sure. So the Facebook page and your email, that's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. I think that's everything we wanted to go over. Is there anything else you want to add while I still have you here?
No, just one of the things, we can't make this possible without the generosity of the community here. I've always said that this is Fort St. John's charity that they let us be the face of, and we can't thank the people enough. You know, it's just remarkable. Whether somebody can only give us $20 or, you know, to the big top spenders, and I don't want to just mention one person.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
because everyone is just as important to us.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, Brent. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
One more time, the date for that gala is May 3rd.
That's correct.
And tickets go on sale April 1st at midnight.
You betcha.
Okay, perfect. That was Brent Morgan from the Fort St. John Firefighters Charitable Society. Thanks again to Jeff Horncastle for joining us today on This Week in the Peace, and thank you for tuning in.
You can listen to the show again by checking out the podcast at energeticcity.ca/podcast. We'll also store this and future episodes of the show there, as well as past episodes of the show. You can also check out our other locally produced monthly podcast before the piece there as well. That's our show. I'm Dub Craig.
And I'm Steve Berard. Be well.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to